Let's tell some stories of recovery.
Let's do it.
Hey, Brannon, dude, thanks for dinner last night, man. I think I said this and somebody else said it too, but by far the best hamburger I've eaten in like years.
No, come on.
Dude,
You don't have to say that.
everything was done to perfection. All of the right toppings, the perfect cook on it, like right down to the buns being like perfectly toasted. Um, you're the man, dude. If anybody ever gets a chance to go over to Brandon's house for a get together or a dinner, he's got the whole back door area like perfectly set up, like three different grills, a drink cooler, great places to sit. Like you take pride in your outdoor living space.
Well, it is one of my hobbies, and I am a tailgate champion. I got a big trophy.
You
Um,
guys
I,
did win the tailgate,
I,
didn't you?
well, yeah, I did specifically. I mean, they did a cooking competition, and guess what I made?
What?
You'll never guess.
I have no clue.
I was up against like ribs and brisket
Yeah,
and
your typical like jalapeno poppers, stuff like that.
yeah, your typical meats. And it was me against all these guys, and
This was up at the University of Utah.
yeah, where we
Yeah.
tailgate. They did a competition. They were giving away this big, huge like fire pit, like cast iron thing. Um, I did a pastrami burger, and it took the
Hey,
win.
hey,
Yeah,
yeah, you're a master of the burger, man.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I should open my own restaurant.
You could, man. You could. It was that good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're nice, Tyler. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're always welcome to come down for a burger at my place.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Um, but I won't be cooking at Rising Sun.
No, no, we've done that before, like in the old days. Remember our very first retreat where we were like trying to do like all of the cooking on top of all of the programming, and it was just like a total dumpster
How could
fire.
I forget those burgers? I'll never forget those.
They were more like hockey pucks.
Yeah, they were straight black, just charred.
Char burger. That's what they were, a char burger.
Yeah, those were
Yeah.
those were
I
good.
think that was one of the first things, like after we get done with that. It was like that was like our very first retreat ever. And we get done and we're like, all right, let's break it down. What went well, what didn't go well. And I think everyone there was like, we got to do something different for the food.
Yeah, yeah. It was bad. It was really bad. The food is much better now.
It's come a long, long way now.
It's
It's
come a
actually really
long
good.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. The more I
Um,
stay away from it, the better off everybody is.
nah, you're not a bad cook, you know.
So,
Um, but speaking of Rising Sun, we're gonna share some pretty awesome stories. I hope you don't turn us off because you're tired of hearing us talk about Rising Sun. We're gonna pull the curtain back a little bit and just show you or talk to you about some of the things that we've seen, some of the miracles that we've witnessed, some just incredible experiences that we've had.
yeah, we just wanted to maybe tell a few stories. And, we talk about this all the time, Brannon. People are probably sick of hearing about it, but it's because it's so important to us because of the stories we're going to tell today. Like the hearts that we see change, the outcomes that we start to see that are different in people's lives, all as a result of the kinds of experience that are had at the Rising Sun retreat.
Yeah,
Um,
it's one thing. It's we use the word experiential, but that's like a therapy speak word. In other words, you get to feel something while you're there, and in real time with real people in the present moment, you experience emotion, you experience God, you experience all kinds of things, and um, it's all surrounded around this perfect time of year where nature is just so perfect and beautiful, and so it's just incredible the setting that is there for healing.
yeah, I think that's it, Brandon. We're really big on the concept, and we talk about this a lot in our podcast, but excuse me, of having Some of the biggest, most impactful things that go on in our lives happen in moments. And sometimes we have to plug away consistently over time. And then inside of that consistency, there's these little moments that break open that are even extra impactful. And we believe in the power of a moment to have an emotionally corrective experience. And we spend a lot of time figuring out what are the elements that help give us the best shot of cultivating these kinds of experiences or moments that can have a shift, a fundamental shift in us, whether it's a shift in the energy that we're living from, or a shift in the belief systems that we've been carrying for so long, a shift in relationships, a shift in like the way we take care of ourselves, um, a shift in a behavior. Uh, and we've found some things that really help. And in a lot of ways, the set and setting really does matter. You
It's
know,
everything.
yeah, there needs to be a context, there needs to be a set, there needs to be a setting. And when that all comes together, all of a sudden it's like things things are ripe for that change to take
And
place.
and a lot of times as the facilitators, we just need to like get over ourselves, get over our ego and get out of the way
It's
and
it's been
allow
really interesting,
yeah.
Brandon, with that because like we feel this like call to do this work. And then we throw our heart and soul into doing the work. And more often than not, when we get to like our meetings and we're talking about what's next, what's next, what's next, it always ends with, we just need to get out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we need to almost like help set the intention and the context, and then we need to actually get out of the way. And that's what's been so amazing to me is the more that I've learned the right ways to get out of the way. This is my own personal relationship with God and other things, the more I've just been a witness to like the beauty of the changes that take place in these people that we get to be a witness of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really awesome. So let's share some specific stories. If you do you have one to start with?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that with the set and setting part of it that you were talking about being the fall, like this this rising sun retreat that's coming up in the next, just over a month or so, is um, is set in Bear Lake, Utah. And there's a portion of that, like it's right at the time of year where the tourism part of Bear Lake has died down, so it's almost like a ghost town. So you have this massive lake to yourself that's kind of buried in the Rocky Mountains, and it's in the fall, so you start to get all the fall colors. And I remember one particular instance with this, and I won't say names, but there was a man that I was working with that was having a real wrestle with his identity and particularly with his relationship with God or his higher power. And he was just kind of feeling like kind of bouncing back and forth this place of like feeling abandoned and feeling not seen, and then also feeling kind of like and unimportant, and then feeling kind of angry as a result of that. And he came with that weighing heavily on his heart to the retreat. And we do all sorts of things. We have this program that kind of helps move through things, but at a particular place, there was this activity where we spent some time out in nature, and you had to kind of climb up to the top of this mountain. And then right when you get to the top, it actually opens up to like the view of a whole bunch of other mountain range. And just the fall colors just blasting off, this beautiful sunlight kind of coming through the clouds. And I watched as this man, who I know the wrestle he was having, he kind of just like sectioned himself off away from everybody. And he went over and he sat down on a rock, and he just started sobbing. He just started crying. And I was like, oh man, like what happened? Is he, like what's going on? Um, and I went over there and I kind of like just watched him for a minute. And then I kind of came up next to him and sat down next to him and put my arm around him, gave him a hug. And he just started crying again. And he said, I can't put it fully into words right now, but what I'm experiencing right now is the deepest form of God's love I've ever experienced in my life. He's like, I can't get over the thought that as beautiful as this is right now, all around me, as beautiful as this is the world around me, God loves me more than these creations. And it was just like, bam. something in him in that moment shifted. He went home and he no longer had to struggle as hard to like fight to stay sober from his addictions. He went home knowing that he was like had some kind of a, and when I say knowing, I'm pointing at my heart. He had like a different knowledge of his own value as a human being, as one of God's creations. And then that manifested into his life, into the people around him, his family, his coworkers, you know, they noticed the shift in him. And that was awesome. That was such a beautiful moment to be just kind of witness.
That that's awesome to hear, Tyler. To and to have experienced those things. These guys come and they come so at times shut down and defend it. They're defending against things in life. Their protective parts are just going nuts. And um, when they get to that vulnerable state and they open up and they feel those things, that's where the real miracles start to happen. Um,
Yeah. And I think there's good reason for that, Brannon. Like a lot of guys are feeling pretty shut down right now. They've kind of been kicked around by their life experiences, by the world. They've kind of lost a sense of their identity and who they want to be, who they are. And so then the way that we protect is we close ourselves off more and more, and then that's where we get into like you said, being kind of shut down. And
yeah,
it kind of takes kind of a weird safe place to learn to open that up again.
yeah. Um, can I share one? This is a little different one. Um, we I'm trying not to let the cat out of the bag too much with some of the stuff that we do. Um, but it was a night where we do something really intense and really vulnerable and really miraculous. And um, it was like the perfect night. I don't know if you remember,
That
but
night was so incredible.
yeah, the moon was like
It was
I
a
got the
full moon.
I just got the chills thinking about
Yeah.
it. I had a spiritual experience myself, just being there with those men in that forest under the moon, and just the clouds. There was just enough clouds to make it really beautiful.
It
The
actually
the
almost made
sky.
it light enough to see, even though it was still dark.
Yeah, it was exactly. So
Yeah.
we were in the dark of the trees, but you could look up and see the brightness of the moon and the clouds. And the music, there's music playing, and a lot of men were having very profound experiences. And at the toward the end of that activity, I started scanning around looking for everyone and just gathering people up, and I hear this, "Hey, help, help!"
I remember this.
And I'm like, "What is going on?" So I kind of wander over, and I look up, and there's this massive pine tree. There's this guy at the top of it, like the top of it. He's like, "Hey, I climbed up this tree and my headlamp fell off. I don't have a light to get down." And he got down, and this guy actually became one of my good friends. And at first I thought, oh, that's kind of hokey, climbing a tree. Like, well, like what's he doing? And then I got to know this guy a lot better, and he had been through so much recently in his life, and he also has a pretty like high pressure job and deals with a lot of difficult things. And um, he said, I just, as I was having this experience, I just wanted to be a boy again. And I love climbing. And the thing about him is he loves adventure. He loves just like exploring things, climbing things, like. And looking back on it, I just think it's so awesome that he actually went and climbed that tree. It was a little scary, little scary.
Yeah. We didn't plan on that.
Did not
But
plan on that one,
yeah,
but
that it was actually a really profound moment for him, though, especially given the backstory on what the significance of climbing a tree was to him, even
exactly.
in his childhood and his boyhood.
Exactly.
And it was almost like a form of his own version of trauma therapy through experience to do what he did.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was so cool to hear the aftermath of that and what had taken place for him.
Yes.
And since then, like that was a few years ago. And what's so cool about that one is like there has been some real staying power to the changes that he experienced.
No question. No
He's
question.
he's totally a different kind of changed, like talk about being sort of born again,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Really,
Um,
really cool to see those changes stick.
yeah.
So here's another one.
Okay.
This is one I think we've referenced this before because we've had him on our podcast a couple of times. People will be able to be reminded of this, but our our oldest ever participant came to the Rising Sun in his 80s.
One of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Love this guy.
He has
And,
got such a heart of gold, such a desire to improve himself, to grow.
and our audience knows him. He's been on the show a few
Yeah,
times.
he's been on a few times. He's been willing to put himself out there with some really vulnerable stuff on the show before.
He,
But one of his parts of his journey, and I think he talks about this in his episodes, is trying to figure out his own masculinity and how he fit in with other men and boys. And so it was a big, big ask to even at his old age, especially at his old age, to come knowing there would be a lot of physical activity. There would be a lot of like kind of masculine types of things that would be being engaged in. And he wanted to come partly because he wanted to actually make peace with this wrestle he's had with himself his whole life. And he did. He came and gave full participation. I think he brought more and gave more and by way of like his heart and his goodness than he took by coming. But one particular part of it, he's got all these wounds, like never feeling like he was masculine enough. And we had this one little activity where we were, of all things, we were playing dodgeball. And there's one game I watched him. He picked up the ball and he like rifled this throw as hard as he could, and he like pegged this other dude who was like getting everybody out on the other side. And
I love
and
it.
and the look on his face afterwards was the best part of it because you were like, for me as an observer, I was witnessing that emotionally corrective experience right there in the moment. You could see his whole countenance change, this big smile get on his face. He carried himself a little bit differently, he picked himself up more. Um, and it was just awesome to watch that, have an 80-year-old man go back to being a 12-year-old boy. That was awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Um, all right. Can I give a more kind of a serious one, actually?
Yeah.
Um, Rising Sun isn't just fun and games. We do some hard work, and um, one of the first steps or things that we do is we start to just practice some vulnerability and some honesty. And you know, sometimes a lot of the guys there have been really practiced at being dishonest. um, and
It's gotten him into trouble.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're not one of these like, hey, break you down, then build you up type. We're not like totally just in your face yelling at you and stuff.
No.
We're not like, what's it called? Impact training or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. They're famous for that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is called. But we do help each other get really clear with the way that we're showing up. And early on, this guy got up and he asked for some feedback, and this other guy from who lived across the country had never met him whatsoever,
They had never talked to each other.
never talked to each other
Yeah.
ever. And I didn't know either one of these guys. I just met them a couple hours before, and they they get up, and the one guy wants feedback, and the other guy is kind of this older guy, and he just starts just going. He just starts like You're doing this, you're doing that. I can totally see through this. This is how you're showing up. This, and the dude is just like dumbfounded. Just
Like, hey, have you been watching my life on a
yeah,
movie screen?
he's like, how in the world does he know? How do, he like broke down and he gave him. This is what's really cool about it is he gave him this massive hug because he just was so appreciative of the love and the support that he got from him in that moment. And he was just like, I don't, how do you know? How do you know? And he got kind of specific too. He's like, you're doing this with your recovery. You're trying to show up this way, but you're actually showing up that way instead. And it was awesome. The awesome part of it is in that hard moment of honesty, there's a creation of connection. And I think those guys were buddies the whole retreat, the rest of the way,
It
because
actually forged their brotherhood.
yeah, they experienced some connection together, and so that's just a little example of just connecting and being honest with each other.
The power of the ability and the setting to be that honest, and how
Yes.
how much it's so funny, like especially like we are funny as human beings because we try to avoid reality all the time, and then when somebody speaks the reality to us, we get mad at it, but we're so grateful for it.
Yeah.
It's like
Isn't
the
that
weirdest thing. Like,
interesting?
I can't tell you how many times this door has been slammed behind me, and the people are like, and then like the next week they come back, they're like, "Hey, everything you said was totally true. Like, thank you."
I know. I
Oh,
know.
okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's keep going then. Like, there's something in us that like wants the truth. Even though it's hard for us to take it sometimes. So yeah,
I
that's
know.
that's a great story, man.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you. Another guy, just pure heart of gold. He spent a lot of his childhood like with some pretty severe bullying. He, got picked on a lot. He got ostracized a lot. He got made fun of a lot, and he never really quite fit in with like he felt like he never really fit in with the boys or with anybody really. Which is interesting because he grows into an adult man and he's highly successful in what he does, but he doesn't even feel like he's successful because he just never feels like he measures up. And there was one retreat, this was a few years ago, and I don't know that we're ever going to bring this activity back, but there was one activity where
So
they had,
so you can talk about it
I,
since
c- I could
we're
talk
not
about
doing
this
this
one,
anymore, but
but we actually we've got other replacement activities for this, but
okay.
we actually that particular year we had a friend of ours who's a rancher bring in some livestock, and he brought us in like these little like I shouldn't say little, they
They were
were
not
they were
little.
they
I had
were
one laying on like its butt was in my face.
if I would have known that it was that close, I would have pushed it further just to just have it like
Yeah.
that
Uh,
cow was right next to your face, and his butt like had manure all over it too. It would have been perfect just to like rub.
that's what I
Anyway,
get. That's what I get for taking it down.
so yeah, so that's what we had to do is we brought in these year-old kind of bulls, and then we had the guys have like it was a timed competition, and you had to whoever brought down their cow the fastest, like
It
cow
was like it
wrestling.
was like a rodeo
It was pure
with
rodeo.
amateurs.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Well, anyway, this guy like they get out there and their cow like is just dominating them. They're just dominating them, and they got like a really spunky one that wanted to like chase them and fight them and stuff. So they're like diving out of the way, like running away and stuff, and their time just keeps ticking up and up and up and up and up. And inside of this guy who'd been bullied his whole life, he said, "I'm standing there against the fence, and this little bull like squares off face to face with me." And he's like, I'm sitting there, and when that bull squared off face to face with me, and he like looked like he was going to come at me, he said something inside of me snapped, and he's like, almost like the moment on Christmas Vacation when I'm not Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story when Ralphie goes off on like the
Yeah.
bully. Like he said, something inside of me snapped, and he's like, I knew no more. No more. I'm not going to be pushed around and bullied by anybody or anything anymore. And then he went in and like took that bull down, and they finished it off. And he came up. I remember the week after the retreat, he came in to like visit with me at one of our appointments, and he was just like, he was like, it was almost like a sacred experience for him. He was like, something has changed, Tyler. Like, I'm not going to get pushed around by anyone anymore. Not nobody. And he went in, and that actually led to some big changes in his life. He ended up changing the company he was working for because they weren't treating him properly. And he started his own business as a result. And man,
That's
like
awesome.
it was so cool. It was so cool, and it
That
was way fun to watch. By the way,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We could tell stories about that activity for a while.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. But now what we do is even better. So
Yeah, that was like several years ago.
you'll have to come to find out.
We
We got
improved
a
it.
new one in store this time. So better
Yeah,
sign up. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the brotherhood and camaraderie with that is so much fun. And even the just kind of the aggression and the wildness of it all, like, is beautiful. Contained within a certain arena. But um, all right, I got one here. Um, so this guy, uh, great guy, one of the best. Um, but he struggled. He was really struggling with his relationship with God. His relationship with God was very much about performance. It was what I call the contingency model, where if I do the right thing, then I get the right blessing, and
God will
so
love me.
God will therefore love me and take care of me and give me what I need. If I act a certain way, then I'll earn God's love. Um, and he'd kind of been under this model his whole life. He didn't really recognize anything different. It was just automatic. That's how God worked for him. And came up to Rising Sun, and we do different activities and things. And he spent some time in silence. He talked to God. He was connecting with other men. Um, and he realized, like, God loves me no matter what I do. And so on the last day, this guy had never said a swear word in his life, ever said a swear word. So on the last day, all the guys gathered around, like all of them, and
Well,
I,
yeah.
I remember we were on a mountain.
Well, so before, even before that, though, right? Like he had kind of gone and in his own kind of downtime, he had done a lot of journaling and wrestling, and he'd actually written a letter to to God, the God he was worshiping, and basically said, "Hey, I realize that maybe I've been the one that's been worshiping a false God here because I believe in a God of love, and I haven't been experiencing that."
Right,
Right.
right.
So
So
then, yeah.
this sounds backwards, but you got to picture this. He's never said a swear word in his life, especially in front of other people. And he's standing on this mountain, and there's all these men, and sure enough, he just starts letting it fly. And and he's swearing at Satan and stuff. And like it was beautiful. But what was most beautiful about it was when after he said it and all these men were listening to him, guess what didn't happen?
He didn't get struck by lightning.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, he didn't, like, nothing happened except we were all cheering, hugging him, loving him in that moment. And so we're not encouraging him to sin or
No.
anything like that, but it's like, just understand that you're loved no matter what you've ever done. No matter what has happened, you are loved, you are seen, you are known. And it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that was actually a really powerful experience, and I know that that's actually been another thing that's had lasting effects in terms of his own personal belief and his own peace of mind with his relationship with God.
Yeah, I think it started him on quite a journey of firing his God and finding a God that does love him
Yeah,
unconditionally.
yeah. Um, this. this one, Brannon, is more geared towards like the the actual brotherhood that takes place being there. You know, when we get our feedback from from past retreats, one of the most common pieces of feedback that we get is like, I feel like I made brothers or best friends with people in a matter of 2 days. And even to this day, there's guys from even our very first ones back in like 20, whenever that was, 2020 or 2019 or whatever, that still get together and communicate with each other and love on each other and support each other and hold each other accountable, independent of anything to do with like our programming. And I think one of the things that is hard to put, it's hard to put your finger on, is that when you bring a recipe of certain things together, you bring a setting where you're getting away from the rest of the world, you put your phone away, everything else that is now conducive to vulnerability, positivity, and empathy while also wrestling with some pretty hard things in your life. And it's met with support and love. There's something that is bonding about that. And it's similar to like what I think happens in the armed services when you put them through Hell Week like that. Like going through the hard things together actually forges them deeper into each other. And the guys who are really successful are the ones who are focusing on their brother and making sure that they're showing up for their brothers as much as they are being self-absorbed in themselves. Um, and myriad kinds of experiences of watching just from a distance as one guy is having a rough time and two or three other guys have the sense to be able to go and be with
Mm-hmm.
another person. Or one guy finally opens up and is finally kind of this, like you said with the swearing thing, like finally opens up and says, guys, I've never told anybody blank in my life before. And I think my life might be over, but I got to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say it. And three other guys go, dude, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Or, holy cow, like that took so much courage. I'm so glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And those kinds of powerful moments forge that depth of brotherhood. And man, this is where we go wrong as men sometimes, Brannon, is we try to go it alone too often.
Yep.
And when you have just a few guys in your corner that are there that can kind of understand what you're going through and what you're dealing with because they're living it too, but they're working at it. Like man, life gets way, way better when you have
It,
that team behind you.
yeah, it's beautiful. And what's crazy is how we create our own isolation because we're worried that we won't be accepted. And yet, through that openness of admitting your struggles and your faults, that's how you create connection. And that's one thing that I think surprises a lot of guys is like, whoa, like I thought I was going to become a stronger man, and you are, but you go become a stronger man by learning how to be vulnerable and owning who you are. And then it creates all this connection and all the things you were just talking about. Um, but Tyler, I was wondering if we could, I guess I'm in the mood of good, funny stories too. So if we could share a few bloopers or mishaps along the way. Um,
Yeah, sure.
we've taken hundreds of men. We've taken men to Alaska, Bear Lake. We've taken them up in the mountains. The logistics of it can get a little tricky when you're dealing with like 40 men at a time up in the mountains. It's like herding cats. Um, and so we've had a few things, happen over the years. Um, I'm just trying to think of a couple of them. One I think we've told this story before about the time that we did an activity. We went up in the mountains. It was like this one of my favorite things that we do is a cold plunge is involved. Um, we go up a ways, like up a ways up in these mountains.
We're up there. We're up there a long ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone's kind of taking a moment and doing their thing. And then it's like, hey, it's time to go. We like honk the horns. It's like,
Yeah.
here we go. All right, we're going.
Well, well, we actually sent them off for a moment of silence and said, "Hey,
Right.
you guys, go find somewhere, stay within earshot, but like go ponder this particular question, whatever." And then
Right.
we get done and we like, okay, round the boys up, let's go.
And
And
this one guy went a little too far off on his own, and we drove the vans down the canyon and all the way back to the house. Like how far is that drive?
it was probably like close to an hour drive.
Oh yeah, it's an hour
Yeah.
drive. It's miles and miles away.
Up this like little dirt road
The
canyon.
canyon. And so
Like
he's up there having a moment, then he realized like, wow, I'm really gonna have a
he's
moment
like,
now.
whoa, this is a true vow of silence. Like it got really quiet all of a sudden. And what's funny about that, when we were loading up, like there was a backpack sitting in the parking lot, and we're like, hey, somebody forget a backpack? And it was like, not mine, not mine. Oh, somebody must have. We chuck it in.
I
And it
know.
was his
Yeah.
backpack. So he was up there like by himself pondering the mysteries of everything we had told him to ponder. And all of a sudden he comes back to the parking lot to nothingness. So the crazy thing about that though is that he sometimes God speaks through cows, I guess, but he's like, well, I don't know what else to do but to start walking my way out of here. So he starts walking out. He doesn't have like all his clothes because we took his backpack. So
And we were cold plunging.
we'd been cold plunging. So he was in like basically a pair of like long spandex, and that was it. And so he's like hiking out of the mountain in like long spandex and a pair of shoes. And he runs into a bunch of cows on the road, and he's like, "Oh man, like what do I do here?" And one of the cows like squares up against him. He named her Helen, and squares up against him is like you're like almost like you shall not pass. So he's had another one of those moments where he's like, I got to get out of here, and he's like, I'm going to conquer this fear, and I'm going to get. And luckily, he got around, and then he ended up hiking like I think it was like 8 miles.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
got down to the main road, and then he's walking on the main road, and by the time that happened, we realized, hey, we left a man behind. So we jumped in the car and went to go pick him up, and right as we were pulling up, we saw him on the road. A cop pulled over and was like, thought he was like a homeless
Like,
man.
what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He was like harassing him, and he's like, if you only knew what I just went through right now. Um, so he ended up doing like an 8 mile hike when it was supposed to be about a mile.
Yeah, I love
But
it.
the cool thing is like when we got back and we were doing the next piece of our content, he raised his hand and he said, "Hey guys, I want to share with you what happened for me." And he said, "I actually feel like I needed that time to be completely alone in the mountains." And like he said, the most impactful part of the whole experience for him ended up being those few hours of walking out of the canyon.
Yep. Yep.
So that was kind of a cool thing for to have him be able to have an experience like that, even when that happened. So here's another one. This was at the same place. It might have been a different year, but there's one place in the cold plunge where we go where there's the potential to either jump off cliffs or do a rope swing or something. And everyone's going off the rope swing, and we're like, guys, okay, guys, you got to hold on tight because it's like the rope is out over the top of like the ground and the rocks, and then it goes out over the water. And we had one guy who went to go on the rope swing, and he like let go before he actually was fully above the water, and he landed in like he landed like face first in like 4 inches of water. Just
By the grace of God, like he made it.
he made
Barely,
he made it.
barely, with the
He
skin of
made
his
it.
teeth. He made it. Oh
Just
my
enough cushion,
goodness.
like just enough cushion of water.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah,
Uh,
that was crazy.
I got one last one, and this is like one of the greatest moments of my life.
Uh-oh.
No, this
Yeah.
so this was our Alaska retreat actually, and right at the end, so you gotta understand the setting. We're sitting on like this deck, kind of
Out in the middle of the ocean.
a remote island that the only thing on the island is the lodge that we're in, and so we're looking across, to the land and the different like forests and the ocean. It's Alaska. It's beautiful. And we had just had a week long retreat, and it was awesome, and everybody was feeling wide open and just alive and good. And um we need to do a retreat in Alaska, Tyler.
We need to do it again, yeah.
We got to do that again. If you're interested in that, let us know, because we can set that up, and we got a perfect place for it. But this guy, one of my favorite clients of all time, he's like, "Hey, before we end the
I love that. That was such a great moment.
before we end the retreat, can I do a song?" And he stands up and he's like, you're looking at him, and then past him is this view of all this nature, and he happens to bust. So I love Garth Brooks,
Yeah, he's your
and
favorite artist.
he happens to bust out like one of the best Garth Brooks songs that I love, and just belts
He
it.
goes all in. He just
He
goes all in.
all it just goes, and like everybody's getting the chills, just like yes, on a prayer in a song,
I hear your voice.
and it keeps me hanging on. Oh, I'm feeling it
It's
again right now.
like just out of the blue, impromptu. Like
Hell
he's like, "Hey guys,
yeah.
I just want to offer this. I really feel like I need to sing this." And it's like a bunch of like, it's actually a pretty bold move to do this in front of like 30 other dudes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just walk up there and be like, "Okay, guys," and he's like hunched up. He opens himself up, arms wide open, and then he just
Yeah.
lets it rip.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was awesome. I got the chills too, just remembering that again.
Yeah. It was a great moment.
I love him. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Yeah. Good man. He's
Yeah,
he's the best.
yeah,
So, well, this is fun, Tyler.
yeah. Um, man, I love that. I'm right now. I'm so like just right now all the way. Like my whole being is just so full of like love for all the guys that we've been able to be with during those experiences over the years.
It gets
And
me excited to for it coming up. Like
yeah, man,
to do
how
that.
lucky are we to have the kind of job or career where that gets to be a part of it that that we get to interact with such amazing people, wholehearted people who are wanting to continue to improve and grow, and what a gift.
It's
So
awesome.
yeah. Um, anyway, hopefully this was helpful in some way. If you or somebody you know would benefit from this, please feel free to share. We'd love to have you share. And yeah, love every single Rising Sun guy who's ever come, even from the very beginning when we were really, really bad at it. Man, I love you guys.
You guys are all awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have a great one.
Right.
Keep on keeping on.
Oh, you